This is Mark Anthony with Mercury Time Price Analytics, and welcome to our end of day video for Monday, March 2nd. Unbelievable market. I want to talk about trade management, and I want to talk about risk management. And the first thing I want to point out is you can see in the ES chart, it's going from the top left to the bottom right. So at the very least, we're in an intermediate term downtrend and possibly something worse than that. Now in our trading service today, based on the recommendations that I made, which are all here, starting with last night, here's the question. Imagine booking 165 handles between Globex last night and today, and here's the point. 0 long trades, none. Now, if I told you that I'd booked 165 handles today, you'd probably think, well, probably caught a tiger by the tail and got in this move at the end. No, wasn't interested in this because all day long it was trying to get over 39, and it failed and failed and failed. Now, if you're going to buy this breakout, the problem is you're going to have to give it about a 15 handle stop, and I'm not interested in that. So 100, and here's the whole point of this: 165 handles between Globex Sunday night and today, 50 last night, and 115 today in the day session. No long positions, and did not participate in this. Now, why? Because the trend is down. And if you're watching this video and you traded the .com bubble after Y2K, or you traded the 08 financial crisis, housing bubble, however you'd like to refer to it, you didn't have to take any long trades. All you had to do is wait for these crazy moves to be over. And what was interesting about this is that it wasn't one single trade. It was 20 handles here, 25 handles there. And this gets back to risk management. And under the heading of risk management, under that broad category, there's two things. There's the risk management and trade management. Risk management, at least in my definition, pertains to when you get in a trade, long or short, how many handles are you risking? Because having done this for 35 years, I can tell you for a long, long time, I'd get in a trade, and my first thought was, how many handles can I make on this if I'm right? That's not the way professionals trade. Professional traders, the first thing you think of is, all right, if I'm wrong, how much am I risking? So that's risk management. And that pertains to how many handles you have to give the stop. And it also pertains to your sizing. So on a full position, I don't like using more than a 4 or 5 handle stop. Well, if you've got a setup that requires you to give it more room than that, well, you control your risk by sizing down your position. And that way you can accept a wider stop, i.e. more handles, without increasing the ultimate risk on that trade beyond what you would normally take on a full position that you were giving, say, 4 or 5 handles. Now, there's one setup today that I want to talk about, and that was in here. So you had this move down last night down to 29.03. Now, in the day session, the key area was right in here. And going into the day, we had resistance here at 24.44. We had a pivot here at 28.82, and the most important pivot for today's day session was this 35.75. Went up to it, did 39. Now, what happened if you were buying this dip? You went up, couldn't make the new high, and if you bought this dip at 13, well, it traded as low as 05. Now, what if you bought this dip? Again, couldn't make a new high, and that one came down to 87.88. Now, toward the end of the day, we had a really nice trade, and it was based on the fact that I expected all day long, I was expecting this 39 to break and go up into 52. We had an important pivot at 52 today. Now, these are already some of the pivots that apply for Globex tonight and day session tomorrow. But on the day session pivots, this is our day trading chart. This is our longer term swing trading chart. But here's the level. You had 52, and there was another pivot here as well, 50 and 52. So what I was expecting all day was for ES to take it up and over this 30.39 and go into 52. But here was the problem late in the day, and it's right here at 30.31.50. So you went into 39, you came down into 12. You came up again, and for hours, I mean, it went into this area here before lunchtime. Eastern time, that was about 11:48 Eastern time. And it came down, and then in the afternoon, it just could not, looking at a shorter term chart, pull up a 3-minute chart, and you can see late in the day how it couldn't get over 31.50. So the question was, all right, do we take a short here knowing that it could go up to 39? But looking at the 3-minute chart, it just could not get through this 31, and that led to this trade late in the day. So the short entry was 27, took 4 on the first third, 11 on the middle, and then 23 on the runner. And that was with a stop at 3004. I mean, it went down to 87, and there would have been nothing wrong with taking that. But what we did is we just simply moved the stop down. And ultimately, when the stop was at 3004, that's the stop that it took. But that was 23 handles on the runner, which is the last third of the trade. So we talked about risk management. That's the risk, of course, you take going into the trade. Trade management is the fact that we take the profit in thirds. So what you want to do is you want to get your first third of the trade out, 3 or 4 handles. Then you can look for a place to take your middle, and then for the runner, which is the last third, you just move your stop down. But that was a 38 handle trade. And here was the total, 165 handles. And then we took a trade here in Globex, and that was right here. This was the trade in Globex this evening. Now, this trade in Globex was predicated on the fact that we've got a very important pivot. We call these our X5 pivots. There's 5 of them, hence the name. X3 pivots up here at 91. So into the close, you made a high of 93.50. And what I love doing in Globex, and these pivots, these are our Mercury bands. Right after the 5 o'clock close, these are calculated and they're put on our website for our members, or our Slack channel, excuse me. These are put on our Slack channel for our members before the Globex open. And so what does ES do? When ES can't find stops, so it put in a marginal new high here. And if ES, just the nature, the characteristic of the way ES trades, if it can't find additional stops to consume when it makes a new high, well, then it starts to probe the other way. And it does it in the exact opposite at a low. And so this is why we put these Mercury bands out before the Globex open. And there's some nights where it's a little bit after that. But most evenings, these are available prior to the 6 o'clock Eastern time Globex open. And so it couldn't make a new high. And what I was looking for here is I wanted to see extension. It didn't extend. So then you look at a short-term chart to fine-tune our entries. I look at 3-minute charts. And the stop, or not the stop, the entry was failure to make a new high. And the entry is going down through 90.50. Now, it moved pretty quickly. So the entry was 89.50. And on any time you're trading here against something that could very well have turned right back around, and our stop here was 96.50. So in at 89.50, stop at 96.50, which of course it would have stopped you out if it made a new high. Oops, sorry about that. But the result of that trade was 3 on the first third, 5 on the middle, and then 12 on the runner, took it off at 77. Now, normally you're looking for more than 5 on a middle. The reason that we took that middle so quickly is to get risk completely out of the trade. So that way, when it was trading in here um, in the mid 80s, if it wanted to go up and do a new high, well, we already had the first third and the middle taken out, so we moved the stop down just a little bit. So if that would have made a new high, we still would have booked one handle on the trade. Now, one handle is nothing to get real excited about, but by getting the first third and the middle out so quickly, it gave a free trade. So you can give it a little room. But that's what I'm talking about with trade management. You get the risk out of the trade as quickly as possible, and then you have a runner that you can move a stop down. And that's exactly what we did in that late day trade, late in the day session. And that's what we did here. We moved the stop down. I had the stop moved to even. And then when it came down into 74, I just chose to take the position off, because if we would have moved the stop down into the high 80s, then there's every possibility of getting stopped out on just a normal check back and have it go lower. And now you're trying to look for another entry, which would have represented more risk at that point. So having traded into about midnight last night, right at midnight was when I closed out the couple of trades Sunday evening. Those booked 50 handles, but early in the week, you just don't want to be trading late into Globex every night, because of course you get tired, you lose your edge, and this is going to be a very eventful week anyway. So going back to the original point, if I told you that I booked 165 handles between Globex Sunday night and the day session today, you would probably think, well, you caught this. But the point is, I didn't participate in this because I wasn't interested in it, because the stop would have had to been about 15 handles. And so the point is 165 handles with no long trades. Everybody wants to get on the long side. Everybody wanted to be long into the highs. Well, what happened into these highs? You kept getting new incremental highs that had no extension. And ultimately, when it couldn't continue to trade above these two algo regression lines here, the cyan one and the red one, and then it broke this orange regression line, well, that opened the floodgates. And you've got a high that was left at 33.97 and a low today that was several hundred handles lower. And so you've heard the expression, the trend is your friend. Well, the trend's not up right now. And yeah, there's people that'll go on Twitter and say they booked X amount of handles today because they caught this. Well, that's great. But if you were wrong, you're eating 15 handles. And so it was much, much safer today to short into failures. And we did that all day long. Did it last night, did it tonight, or did it during the day, did it again tonight. So 165 handles in less than 24 hours with 0 long trades, none. And that's what you can do with good trade management. And that's what you can do when you have the benefit of these algorithmic pivots. And so the whole point, one of the key points about trading is you can trade long and be profitable. You can trade short and be profitable. You cannot trade without good risk management and good trade management, because the reality is you can trade either side of the tape and you can make a very nice living as long as you have good risk management and you have even, equally importantly, maybe more importantly, is good trade management. Because when you get these moves that are 20, 25 handles, even less than that, if you're taking your profit in thirds, those trades that end up being 15 handles here, 20 here, 25, 30, and you can see this all throughout the trading timeline, those add up. 11, 4, 8, 11, 6, 4, 3, and these are all on the third pieces. 28 handles on this trade, 24 handles on this trade. You add those up at the end of the day, and I thought at the end of the day it would have been a little over 100, because I knew that last night it was over 40. But you add it all up, it's 165 handles, and I'm not saying that to brag at all. I mean, I'd love you to try out our trading service, but I only prove that point because everybody thinks you got to catch these big moves to make really nice, consistent profit, and that's not the point at all. A lot of this stuff, I mean, this move at the end of the day today, I believe was due to options gamma. This crazy move that occurred on Friday in the last half hour, or last hour, part of the reason for that was about $20 billion of pension fund ETF buying. And here's the problem. You had this move down Friday, 100 or so handles. Well, what happened Sunday? Right back down. And I know there's a G7 meeting tomorrow at 7 a.m. Big deal. You take this up over 3,100, there is all kinds of stuff that it's going to run into. 3133, 3117. I mean, it's going to run into all kinds of significant resistance. So they can play these games and take this up 30, 40, 50, 100 handles at a time. That's fine. But when the party's over, there's going to be a mess to clean up. And those little pullbacks of 20, 30 handles, you do that consistently because the point is, again, trying to catch this move. Well, that's great. But, how 10, 15 handles given up trying to buy this dip and this dip and this dip and this dip. Well, at that point, you could have been minus 50, 60 handles for the day, and it really didn't matter. You catch that move, okay, great. But barring something like this, if you were buying dips today, you could be down every bit of 50, 60, 70 handles. And so trading with the trend, and the trend is down. We're not making all-time highs again. Not anytime soon. And so the higher probability trade is waiting for these crazy moves up and not worrying about them. Because look, here's the thing. When you get your brokerage statement at the end of the month, it doesn't show how many were long and how many were short. Handles are handles. And right now, there's much less risk shorting into overhead resistance, just like when we were in that crazy uptrend. There was less risk buying the dips, although some of those dips were pretty crazy. But look, the trend is down. And at the very least, we're in an intermediate term downtrend. And if you go on our website, mercurysignals.com, just take a look at the weekly reports. So here's our website, mercurysignals.com. Just type in Mercury Signals, and boom, that takes you to our website. And if you do nothing else, just click this weekly report tab. Now, I didn't have time to do one this weekend. This was last weekend. This does not compute. Very bearish. This was the one before with Mr. or Ms. Mean Kitty. Mean reversion. That article was about the fact that the markets were trading 3 standard deviations above the 200-day moving average. Those types of overbought conditions tend not to work out well. So this was Saturday a week ago article. The robot from 60s TV show Lost in Space. This was the week before that. This was the week before that, calm before the storm. And I mentioned to our members last week and the week before, and I mentioned this many, many times, up to 2 weeks ago. I said by March, no one's going to want to be long. And that's exactly what happened. And that wasn't a guess. It's because of the algorithmic math. If you had a bunch of algorithms, everything from short-term to long-term, and you're in an uptrend, you might have one that's at an angle like this and a longer one that's below like that, spaced out quite a bit. Well, what happens? At every one of these significant highs, May, August, September, October, all those algorithms that are supposed to be spaced apart quite a bit, they all get bunched up in one line. And when they do that and they break, this is what you get. That's what you got in May. That's what you got um, in August, September, October. Every single one of those started with all the algos bunched up. And conversely, the bottoms that we had, the significant bottoms, were all the same way. You had all the algos bunched together in a line. I mean, literally all melded together going sideways. That's what happens at the significant tops. That's what happens at significant bottoms. And that's why going back 3 weeks ago, and actually a month ago, I called all of this, and that's why January 22nd we were short, January 24th we were short, January 29th we were short, January 31st. And those trades started out as 30 handle down day, then a 70 handle down day, then a 90 handle down day. And it just got worse and worse. And you can see what these algo regression lines did. They couldn't continue to stay above these two upsloping regression lines. And when this one broke, forget about it. Now, you got another regression line here. And this is going to get tested again on the downside. So whatever they give us tomorrow, just know that there's a world of hurt up here when you start getting back into 31.30, 31. I mean, this whole area is going to be a mess. And so, you know, I wanted to record this video. I didn't do one over the weekend. Didn't have time to do a weekly report over the weekend because there were a lot of things in our algos that needed to be updated because of all the violent moves. Now, we didn't have to change any of the algorithms, but a lot of our pivots, these horizontal lines, have to be recalculated when you get that kind of violent move down that we got. So there was a lot to do this weekend. So did not do a weekly report, didn't do a weekend video like I normally do. But if you go back and you look at those videos and look at those weekly reports, I called every single one of them, not because I'm smart, but because we have very, very good algorithms that predict these things. So if you'd like to check out our service, one very important update to give you. Up until now, we had two separate services, one for ES and NQ, and then a separate service for bonds and crude oil. We now combined them. So now you get all four. You get all our ES algorithms and pivots and the NQ pivots, and you also get the bonds and crude oil. And you've never seen anything trade algorithmically the way our systems trade bonds and crude oil. Absolutely crushes it. But it's all one subscription now, so you get all of them. So now you don't have to choose between one or the other. We've got, for each service, there's a live chart. So you go to Zoom, you put in that day's code, and you've got the ES day trading system and the ES swing trading system. And then we've got a separate code for bonds and crude oil, because if we put them all on one chart, it would be too small. And the only thing you have to do in order to run both of them is you just need two different email accounts. So if you've got, say, an Outlook account and a Gmail account, because Zoom costs you nothing to use it. So as a member, all you have to do is have two different emails, because Zoom doesn't let you log into two webinars at the same time. But each evening between 5 and 5:30-ish, we give you a new code, and then that runs the live chart from 6 p.m. Globex in the evening all the way up until 5 o'clock the next day. So each one of those Zoom codes, that runs 23 hours. So with this new combined membership, you don't have to choose between ESNQ and bonds and crude oil. And the price only went up just a little bit from what we charged for each of those services separately. Now that's only going to run probably till the end of this week. And then there is going to be a rate increase to more accurately reflect the fact that we're now giving you 4 systems instead of having you choose between 2 ESNQ or the other 2 bonds, crude oil. So if you go to our website, everything's on there. And up at the top of the page, You can view all the ESNQ systems, the bond crude oil systems, and then for subscriptions, you just click on that, and that'll give you all the information. We bill every 2 weeks. We don't bill monthly, so you're not even locked into a month. And we give you a lifetime rate lock. So if you are interested in taking our services for a test drive, and by the way, we don't offer Bitcoin anymore. The Bitcoin system ran great, but my fear with Bitcoin is people gamble, and we don't want to be part of that. So that will be updated. That should have been taken off the website. I'll fix that this evening. But I was just mentioning about the pricing. It's bi-weekly, not monthly. You're not committed to a month at a time. And even though we don't have you commit even to a month at a time, we give you a lifetime rate lock. So as rates go up in the future, and they will very soon, whatever rate you subscribe at, it's locked in. So if you have any questions or you want to send feedback, it's Mark Anthony at mercurysignals.com. As always, we thank you so much for your time. God bless you. God bless your family. And we hope to see you again soon.